County Commissioners Board Work Session. It is Wednesday, June 8th, 2022. It is 2:09 p.m. This is a hybrid meeting. We're in Building 1, Room 280. For public virtual attendance, you may follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board, Vice Chair Ty Menser in the boardroom, as well as Commissioner Gary Edwards, County Manager Ramiro Chavez, and Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell. We also have other staff members that I cannot see who they are in the boardroom as well. Today, the topic on the agenda will be discussing Central Services Department restructure plan and subsequent reclassifications. So, County Manager, do I hand it off to you?
Thank you. Just a couple of comments. And as Commissioner Menser stated, let me take you back a little bit. It was when the Central Services Director resigned maybe 2-3 years ago. And at that point, took the strategy not to backfill that particular position. And those assignments were given to Robin Campbell, the Assistant County Manager. So since she has been performing that duty of budget manager, assistant county manager, as well as overseeing all the functions with Central Services. And then the pandemic hit and everything was just in response mode. And as we, at least from my point of view, see a little bit of easiness of this pandemic, it has put us in the position to be more strategic. Strategic as to how this group that has been consolidated for the last couple of years can take advantage of some reorganizations to make it more effective, sustainable into the future. But also this is also related to the other assistant county manager. I started defining a little bit more the functions of that, and we're working on defining the job classifications with assistant county manager, and that decision will come before you here shortly. But there's all is a consolidated approach as we have taken, and again, just to be take us the time to be strategic at this point as to how we're going to be moving forward with the ultimate objective as to how we can be more effective to provide services internal as well as to those clients that we serve within Central Services.
Thank you, Ramiro, for launching that. This afternoon, we're going to talk specifically about the Central Services Department. And as Ramiro said, about at least 3 years ago, it's probably getting closer to 4 years ago that I took on Central Services in addition to my other duties. At the time, part of the direction of the board was to create a few other positions that we are slowly moving toward filling. And then I took about a year to look at the department and get to know it a little better, and was just coming up with a plan on what a better structure might be when the pandemic hit and everything just got set aside and we focused on a pandemic and getting our county through the pandemic. So as Ramiro said, now that the pandemic is easing up, I've taken a little time to work with my team in Central Services. 2 of them are here with me today. Could you introduce yourselves, please?
Sure, I'm Jenny Silva Chanowski. I'm the Administrative Services Manager at Central Services.
Hi, I'm Jenny Branham, Fiscal Manager of Central Services.
So I worked with Jetty and Jenny as well as Bruce Rohrbaugh of our fleet unit and Jason Ash of facilities to come to a determination of what a better structure might look like. And we're here today because we have a proposal, and if the board should say yes to this proposal, then over the next few weeks you will see on your agenda reclassifications of certain positions. And that's what we want to get you familiar with so that there's no surprises on the agenda. And if you have any concerns about where I'd like to go, then I'd like to hear those so that I'm able to address them and maybe change course if that is where we go. So why are
And
we,
right off the bat,
yes,
so what's the difference between this restructure and the market study that's being done right now? And how will those two correlate or impact each other?
right. So the restructure that I'm putting in front of you, as you'll see as we look through a series of org charts, actually changes the structure of the department. The class and comp study that we're going through is different because it's looking at each position and saying, what should that position be paid? And is the structure of the position or the classification sound? So I'm looking at an overarching organizational structure rather than individual positions. And I know which positions I need to get the work done, what type of work needs to get done and where we have gaps. And it's not about the pay, it's about getting the work done, which is why we're proposing a restructure. So does that answer your question or?
A little bit, because I thought part of, and some of the conversations is they were gonna provide recommendations on structures. So and those were just the conversations I had with them when we were talking about kind of what the work was gonna be, and that was something that they said they were gonna do. So I was wondering if there was gonna be any correlation at all with what they're doing.
I know that they're gonna work on career ladders, but I didn't think that they were working on organizational structure. Maybe you know a little more.
I don't believe part of the scope of work for the consultant is to look into the operational structure of the county. I think it's more the career ladder, the structure of the specific positions, certainly, but not necessarily on the operational structure of the county.
Okay. Commissioner Edwards is.
I never know if the chair can see me or not. As we move forward with this, well, potentially, I mean, one of my concerns is that we get out from underneath all of these restrictions from whether it's at the state level or at our own county restrictions on this virus. So, I mean, we're almost there, but are we there? That's, I'd like to see that happen. So I think it's good to get the background and start, contemplating what might be coming. And then the second piece of that is retention and inflation. And the difference of, I don't know what the inflation is, but hell, it's close to 10% right now.
Right. So I will say that none of this has to do with COVID. This is all about how Central Services works to support county, the businesses.
Yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with COVID either.
Okay.
When I say
So
that.
I'm not gonna talk about that today.
No. I just say that we've got these resolutions in place. I wanna get back to normal, and this is a good step in getting back to normal, but I wanna make dang sure we're normal before we move forward on this. We've kind of been hanging fire because of COVID. Let's get to the end result before we do it. So that might be in a week, we don't know. And the governor's doing something at the end of the month, I think.
Yes, certainly,
It's just a
I'll
consideration.
bring those items next Tuesday, but with all due respect, those items have no relation to this proposed structure.
I realize that.
Yes,
I
sir.
realize that. It's just
Whether
the impact, what potential impact still might be out there. I'll just give you just one thing, right off the top. We're still requiring employees that don't want to get a shot to get a test and pay for that test. And every week, we're doing that. It's just one thing. All I'm saying is, I want to get beyond all of this before I'm going to be comfortable to make any substantial changes.
Now you understand what you're saying is, you yourself want to have a condition that those resolutions should be lapsed and before you can support any structure.
Yeah, that's it, basically.
Well,
But
that's
this is
different.
all good to do this, and, because
Yeah.
we're not gonna be ready to do the changes probably until, I don't know, a couple weeks or a month. I want the governor's
No,
thing
I was-
behind
I
us.
was trying to understand your perspective.
Okay,
Right, well, I will
that's
say
just one
that
person's perspective.
other than I think one position, we've already been working with HR and have everything ready to go. So if the board is
Okay.
good with this, we're ready to get it in front of you. And again, the only reason that I even talked about COVID was to say, I didn't have time
Yeah,
in those
no,
2 years that we
I'm not
addressed COVID.
questioning any of that, I'm just saying, because of COVID, we kind of went on delay, had to.
Had to.
But we're not quite done with COVID. I wanna make darn sure I'm done with it. My life has been done
I'm
with it
so
all
over it.
along.
And
I'm
my
over it.
team, who has done a lot to support the county in COVID,
Sure,
including ordering, PPE, facility changes, many things that Central Services has done in response to
Could we
COVID.
allow staff to go through the presentation?
sure,
Yeah.
sure. I'm just making a
And provide-
early on statement
provide the-
of what I'm concerned about.
So
And
here's my-
inflation and retention is a big piece.
Well, retention is one of the reasons that I am bringing this forward. So why am I proposing a restructure to the board? First, I want to appropriately align the classifications with getting the work done. And that does a little bit speak to your question, Commissioner Mejia, about how does this dovetail with the class and comp study. I think that once we get opinions from that study about what these positions ought to be doing, we need them aligned correctly in the organization so they can be effective. So this isn't necessarily about the vast majority, what you'll hear is the vast majority of the positions that I'm asking to have reclassed are vacant. It's not about having a person doing work in the right class, it's about having the right class for the business that needs to get done.
The black mean it's vacant?
The black are the ones that we are impacting in this proposal. Yep, so we'll get there in just a minute. Promote more effective work processes in aligning these units within Central Services, making sure they have the right support, making sure they have the right level of supervision, someone to go to who knows the business. And I'd say that has been my biggest challenge in taking Central Services. My husband thought it was crazy that I was taking over fleet when I could not tell you how to open the hood of my car. He just thought that that was a very funny thing. So I rely heavily on my fleet manager and the team at ER&R to be doing the best work possible. And if they came with a technical issue, that's something that I would not be able to solve for them. I would know who to go to, but I don't have a background in fleet, facilities, capital projects. I am very fortunate to have excellent people at those levels. But we need to have efficient work processes and a structure in place. By having that, we will streamline service deliverables and build career ladders. One of the proposals here is to create a capital project manager 1 position. I have 2 2s, I have a 3, and then also asking the board to create a senior capital planner that would provide oversight to that unit. And then addressing retention issues. We have turnover in that one's pretty solid, but in facilities, we have pretty consistent turnover. It is becoming harder and harder to find technicians. Facility technicians are becoming scarce, surprisingly. And I've had a capital program manager position open for 1 year, and only this morning offered the job to a qualified person who accepted. So
Okay.
that's exciting, but we're having a hard time holding on to people and when the positions are vacant for finding good people.
But when we get to a fix through what Commissioner Mejia brought up about that paying class, it's gonna actually address some of this, I hope.
I hope it will, but I think creating career ladders, having appropriate supervision, having the right classifications with the proper support in place creates an environment where people want to work.
I agree, but that almost matches with what Commissioner Mejia brought up to me, but I agree with you.
That's not what the study
The
is
pay CAS
doing.
is not doing that.
That's, our organizational structure is up to us.
Okay.
So it's not part of the, so all of these are reasons that I'm bringing this forward. So let's look at the org charts. Here's what it looked like in 2016. This was well before I took over Central Services. And you'll note on the left-hand side of this org chart that at this time, information technology was still part of Central Services. It was not long after this that the board took an action to split IT out into its own department. Now you've got a completely independent, almost completely independent. Central Services still provides administrative support for information technology department because it's efficient to do it that way. But you've got a separate IT director who has organized his structure in a way that makes sense to provide IT services. That left you with the second org chart. And this is how it looked when Martin Casey left. You had a facility services manager with 14 direct reports. And that was creating quite a bit of chaos. Fleet operations was working with leads in their organization, which was working well but not as effective as it could be. Admin services was a pretty direct line of report up to Jetty. Accounting had only 2 accounting FTEs that reported to Jenny. That is for the rates and payments that affect the entire county. That was a heavy workload. And then there were 2 FTEs that worked on projects and property management.
How many total employees were in 2019, Robin?
Do we know total FTEs in 2019? We could add them up, Commissioner. I think there were about, they're a little less than 50.
Yes.
Yeah, just a little under 50. And I've added 1 FTE in that time, possibly 2, because we have expanded our facilities. And so the board approved through the budget process facility technicians for
Thank
the increased square footage. This next org chart looks a little more busy. I've provided larger versions of those so that they're easier to see. And I apologize, Commissioner Mejia, that you only have the small ones on the screen.
I have my tablet, no worries.
Okay, all right, good. So this is Central Services as it looks today, and we've broken out all the FTEs so you can see that between today's structure and the one that I'm proposing, there's exactly the same number of FTEs. I'm taking FTEs that are vacant and asking that those be reclassified, and we've worked with the HR to ensure that it's all appropriate and they're the proper classifications. But the ones in the black print are the ones that we're going to change. So we're taking you'll see in facilities, there's a facility supervisor position that is currently vacant that I'll talk about going to in a minute. I tried 3 years ago, we created lead positions in facilities to attempt to get to the career ladder and not have all of the facility FTEs report to one person. And quite frankly, it did not work very well. So over the last 2.5 years, we've piloted the lead program. The people in the lead positions, we worked with the union. They had 5% pay increase for the assignment. And what we found is that with the lack of real authority, the employees just bypassed the leads. It was not effective at all. The other part of this that wasn't terribly effective is we broke it down by region almost. We had one group was assigned to the Montman area, one group assigned to the campus, one to Tilly. Well, the way that the skill sets of the employees are distributed, that wasn't working. Because like one of the guys has a certificate in HVAC. Well, he couldn't work in his section. He needed to work in any building that needed HVAC work. So the facility structure, we tried it, didn't work. So now for facilities, we're proposing on the second one, I'm gonna go back and forth a little bit by unit. On this next org chart, we're gonna fill this facilities supervisor position and create a second facilities supervisor. And I'm going to take what is currently a facility tech 3 that's vacant and ask the board to reclass that. And then we're going to break the facilities into 2 groups, each group reporting directly to the supervisor with an appropriate distribution of the skill set so that either team can address any facilities job. One of the goals in facility, it's part of the county strategic plan, is to have facilities that operate better and to turn toward preventative maintenance. And you'll see that that's been a challenge to go from being reactive to the roof caved in and all the water's pouring into the court. We want that to happen a lot less, and instead to get ahead of that to address the plumbing needs ahead of time so that a leak coming is much less often. So it had been where facilities, a very small amount of their time was spent on prevention. I'd say that under Jason's leadership, we've gotten that up to at least half their time, if not more, is spent on prevention. And with the work we're doing on the buildings, that is going to shift even more. And the goal is that at least 80% of their time is spent on prevention and only 20% spent on being reactive to problems that occur.
Robin, you're addressing on vacancies, the black print in the different squares, right?
The black print, yeah. So under facilities, in the blue, and I should tell you about the color coding too. Everything that is green reports directly to me. So we're also, one of my goals is to reduce the number of direct reports to me, so that my time is used in a better manner to serve the board. So that's going on too. So we're gonna take the facility tech 3 and change it to a facility supervisor position.
And you have other or you have other positions that are vacant, but they're in white letters, so they're not
Yes,
changing.
and I don't intend to
They're not gonna-
change
They're gonna
those.
be left alone.
That's exactly right.
Do you have the number, I mean, we could look it over and find it, but do you have the number of vacancies that are reflected here in this sheet?
We're talking about 5 in
Yeah,
this discussion, yes.
five positions.
But 3 of them are gonna be moved around to fix this problem you're talking about. 2 other ones are not.
Yep, no, we're
All
changing,
five.
All 5, okay, so
We
there's
have
5
5.
vacancies here
yeah.
right now. But I thought 3 are in black print.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
4.
There's 5 on the page that we're gonna come to the board
There's 6 on the
now.
page then in black print.
Yeah,
1, 2,
there's a bunch.
3, 4.
We've got, once I go through the org chart, then we've got a much more logical layout to show you what the dollar impact is.
Okay.
All right, so
Try to
that's facilities. The next thing is the project managers. Right now, they all report directly to me, and they are consuming a very large amount of my time.
CPM title.
Yep, CPM 2s, CPM 3. On the current layout, I have a building inspector 2 position. It
And where's
was
that?
created years ago.
Bottom green.
Got it, okay, I see it. Yep.
It's never been filled. I don't know why. It was under Martin Casey. I have an idea of why he wanted it, but I don't think it's a valuable.
Was there dollar savings for the FTE that he was able to use that money in other areas then? He budgeted for it apparently. He's got approval and budgeted for it, then he must have, either he gave the money back at the end of the year or he took money out and covered expenses.
So we never built it into the rates. We never
never
built it
did?
out. No,
It was
it
just a
was
vacant
never
position
filled.
with
It
no
was
dollar.
a vacant, because it was in the appropriation every year. The money was never spent.
So he turned that money back, if it was in an appropriation,
Well,
he
it was.
turned it back?
It was, if you think about how Central Services is funded, we are funded through rates,
Right.
through the M&O fund. And so the money was never spent out of the fund. We never had to bill any other office or department for this service. The money just sat there.
And that goes back every 2 years, the lag time that you go through when you reassess all the right
Central
costs.
Services is actually billed on a prospective rate structure. It's not one of, the CPMs are billed by project.
It's a direct allocation.
It is. So, and then we have to reconcile the rates that we build out every year. So we plan for it, we'd reconcile, the money come back. So
Well, it doesn't make sense to me, but go ahead.
it's all about the rates.
No, I mean, the rate is, if half his time was road fund, half, general fund, I mean, 50-50
Yeah, we
paid for
never,
that.
exactly.
But you just never, you had it there and never had to do anything.
Never used it. No, never ever did. So what we need, what this county needs is a long-term facilities plan. Other jurisdictions have them. It lays out county-owned facilities and properties, and there is a plan on how you maintain them and how you pay for that plan. We don't have that, we need it, and so I'm proposing that we convert this position into a capital planning manager. A senior capital planner is what I think the title came down to, who would not only develop that plan, but also have the supervision of the capital project managers who would execute the plan.
Have you heard the term asset management? you heard that term. The Public Works use that term quite often. It's really is, and that goes parallel what Robin just did, is an asset management of all the facilities, having an inventory, having determining what is the long-term plan, what is the life expectancy of a building, and what are the elements that we need to do to extend the life expectancy of that building by being proactive and determine the long-term plan. So in a way, what Robin's stating is the asset management of all the county facilities that we have.
That's right. And then that would also inform the prevention work that the facilities team would be doing. So that is the second, I think that would be a major shift to the benefit of the county. In the fleet section, the board already approved the reclassification of the, they had been leads in fleet, and now the board approved the reclass to crew chief for 2 crew chiefs. Same kind of setup as we're proposing in facilities with facility supervisors. You now have crew chiefs in fleet, and that was done 2 months ago, 2 to 3 months ago.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a recent change that the board approved. The next area is in administrative services. The way this is structured currently, the staff who provide support to the project managers are in admin services. And those staff are providing services at a level of service that is above their classification. Now, this is one area that the comp and class study might address. So those are 2 that could wait if the board wanted to wait on the comp and class study. But we already know that these people are working out of class, and we'd like to create a career ladder with the change of the rest of the department. So we're asking to take a vacant senior office assistant and turn it into an administrative assistant. Right?
When is that comp and pay thing gonna be done?
You will see the initial studies at the end of this year. That was the commitment. It's gonna be by phases.
Ooh, so it's not happening for quite a while.
That's right. Which is why I'm asking to bring this now. The other change here is we are taking one of the vacant senior office assistants and turning that into an executive assistant for me. Because the person would still.
That's one of these black ones here.
Yeah, one of
Black
these
and purple.
black ones that is purple becomes this green one up here that is attached to me.
Management analyst?
Nope, I already have the management analyst.
Executive
The
assistant, executive assistant?
It is the executive
From the
assistant.
top chart to the,
Yeah, okay, so executive assistant
Right.
right here.
that's the proposal.
And that's the position that Jamie Caldwell had been in. And she was providing quite a bit of assistance to me, so she was basically already working out of class.
We stole her.
So they would still, yeah. I need the help.
He did it, point the finger.
Yeah, we stole her from me, but I need that support, and the person in that job would continue to do things not only to support me, but also the rest of the
I
organization.
don't think we wanna give her back.
I'm not gonna take her back, we knew that was for the
That's
good
not,
of the
that's
county.
not an option as part of this reorganization.
Yeah,
Commission.
no, that's part of
Top
the,
two.
I could say that this was part of the deal for you getting Jamie, but.
Right, no, yeah.
So what's the time frame that we're talking about here? I mean, we're gonna be done in 15 minutes, but I'm hoping we're gonna have some extensive discussion on this for
Yeah,
a period
so
of time.
I think going back to the initial statement that Robin made is, we're going to give you an overall perspective of the plan. So when you see reclassifications down the road, if this is, a good perspective you'd like to support, then you're not surprised. So then every time that you see a central services, reclassification, I will take you back to this org chart. And that's really the intent.
But are we at the end of, in 15 minutes, we're gonna expect it to give direction about, yes, we wanna move forward, no, we don't wanna move forward?
Yeah, or if you have any additional questions,
Well, I'm gonna have a lot of questions. I'm not gonna be ready in 15 minutes. I mean, I'll fall back on my earlier statement that I wanna get things behind us before we move. But that's just me, it's not my seatmates, so we'll see
Okay.
where it goes.
So I'm gonna keep going.
And I'm not against this.
Thank you.
I think what you're doing makes sense. I'm just never one to be given something and, what do you think?
Right.
I don't work
You need
that way,
time.
so I just wanna point that out ahead of time.
usually I will bring that in the following Tuesday.
Well, yeah, okay, still.
So
My seatmates might be quicker than I am.
those
sharper.
are the major changes. You also see at the right-hand side of this chart, the budget team. That is already in play. Nicole arrives on July 1. Right now, the budget, all the budget analysts report directly to me. They will report to
When you say
Nicole.
Nicole, is that the lady we hired from out of state somewhere?
Yeah.
She just now showing up?
She is
Okay,
just
okay.
now.
So that's a done
Yep,
deal.
She's on her way, yep.
Okay.
And then Jenny will report to Nicole and
Okay.
the whole
Jenny's the
finance
one on the
team.
right,
Yep.
fiscal manager.
Fiscal manager, that's right.
Okay, so Nicole, Jetty, I'm going to the left.
Uh-huh.
Bruce, capital planning manager, is not yet identified.
That
Then
is
it's
going
talk
to
about
be the
reclassification
new,
and action by the board.
right, that'll be the capital planning manager.
We'll hire that person.
We will hire that person eventually.
And then who's facilities manager? Is that
That's Jason Ash.
That's what I thought.
Yep. That is my team.
Okay.
Here's the cost. So here's a summary. We're asking you to change the building inspector. It's currently got an end date. Take off the end date, create the capital project manager 1, to create an entry level into the CPM program and a career ladder. The end date for the senior office assistant, remove that, create the executive assistant.
CPM 1, tell me. what-
Capital project manager
Okay, 1,
1.
okay.
Yep. 2 senior office assistants would become administrative assistants.
Over here?
We replace 3 facility leads with 2 facility supervisors and reclass a facility tech 3 into one of the facility supervisor positions. And then we would take the vacant facility 2 position to create the capital planning manager. So this is all the moving parts in a nutshell. The costs, there are cost increases, and I would just say that for all of the reclassifications, these are shown to you at the top of the range, what the difference would be at the top of the range, but because most of these are vacant, they're not necessarily a cost to the county, because I'm currently having salary savings, and I wouldn't necessarily hire at the top of the range.
But that comes back to retention and recruitment.
For the
As the time
classification.
Yeah. And the
Again.
classification what Commissioner Mejia brought up on, are we paying enough? And
Yeah, but the answer to that question will be later on. We're not trying to answer that at this point.
yeah, but
Right.
are we gonna be able to get good people? Are we gonna be paying enough to get good people, I guess?
That is the challenge that we have, and not just on this position.
Yeah.
Right.
Across the county.
Yeah, everywhere. So the difference between the building inspector 2 and a capital project manager 1 is it's about a little over 9% higher at the top of the range. The senior office assistant to executive assistant, that's the biggest leap up. That is a 35%, but again, I've got salary savings there. And overall, that's only if you go to the top of the range. The two senior office assistants to admin assistants, that would be an increase of about 10%. The facility tech to facility supervisor is about 10% increase. However, we will be, we'd no longer be paying the 5% salary bump to the leads, so actually this breaks even in facilities. Facility tech 2 to a capital planning manager, that is a big leap up. It's approximately 60% higher for a senior person. That is because I am reclassing a low-level position. And that is all I had planned.
So you gave some different percentages as you went down, but somewhere we need to compare what's 10% of X, you know, what is that actually?
Got it right there.
I didn't catch the last two
So the last two,
on the last slide.
oh, the very last slide, just comments and.
No, the last two bump ups. Yeah, that one.
So, right. So for facilities, tech 3 to the supervisor is about 10%. But that's the one where we expect to break even because we're eliminating the 5% pay increase for the leads. And then the facility tech 2 to a capital planning manager, that is a very big increase. It's about 60% higher. Because I am reclassing a low-level position to a much higher classification.
When you say, Romero says this a lot too, when you say, well, that's only if we hire at the top of the range, but I don't really understand that because if something's vacant, you would hire, you might hire anywhere in the range.
That's right.
And then the new person with the reclass might be anywhere in the range. And if the whole range is going up 10%, wouldn't you just guesstimate that it's still a 10% increase? Like, what does it mean to say, like, it's not, does that really mean anything to say, well, that's only if you hire at the top of the range? I mean, it could be a 10% increase anywhere on the range. Assuming you hired somebody at the given point in the continuum of the range.
Yes, I would agree with that, but I would also say that we tend to promote from within, so the difference is not as steep as when you bring someone in from the outside and
Because that person could be already at the top range of the lower classifications when you reclass and that person gets promoted.
You won't give them the top.
It will be unlikely, that will not happen, they go to the top. And I think that's probably the clarification.
Okay.
right.
So what's the dollar amount on this? Just roughly, I mean, what are you talking about between?
I couldn't,
Well, we gotta know something.
well,
I'll just do a quick math, I mean, 625 plus 16.
Romero can do
yeah,
So you're looking for an annual, total overall annual
Yeah,
increase?
and then sometimes that doesn't affect things too bad that year, but then every year after that is where it really kicks in.
I guess
But because
the
the baseline.
difference might be in the $50,000 to $60,000 range.
Heck, I would think that 60% thing.
So the overall impact in here, monthly, is $7,037.
So 84
$7,037. So a year, that will take you,
Where did you get that number from, Ramiro, the 7,000?
if you see this impact on a yearly basis of 46,000, versus the size of the budget.
Wait a minute, you said it's 7,000 a year?
A month.
7,000 a month.
7 times 12 is not 46.
Yeah, that's not 46. I'm ahead of that one too.
It's like 84.
Yeah, there we go.
84,
Sorry.
84, yeah, you really.
Hello?
and then
Do
you,
you hear me?
Yes, sorry.
Sorry, no, I was wondering where he got the $7,000 number.
He added up from the slides, all the different like monthly
Yeah,
increases for the different
Right.
positions.
Thank you.
In administrative, 84,000.
and then
So-
you have to take out the facilities, cause it'll break even,
Right.
so
No,
roughly,
let's say
Yeah.
84,000. And, but I'd like to probably make a comparison to the size of the budget. What is the size of your current budget this year?
ooh, what is our budget this year
For
in
all our
total?
funds, it's about 13 million.
About $13 million.
So and I'd like to probably say 13.
I can do that, man.
Is less than 1%, is 0.64% impact on the overall budget, this proposal, if we went down to the dollars and cents.
So,
Yeah, even, yeah, like it's,
0.64%.
yeah, I got
Yeah,
5.7, but I
yeah.
took out the one that you said, so
So-
Overall.
0.5%.
So 0.5% of an impact on a budget that brings a more sustainable structure. If you ask my humble opinion, this is a great investment.
Yeah, it very well could be. It doesn't sound bad, it makes.
Any questions? So I will be bringing this on Tuesday, whether the board is ready to make a decision until Tuesday. Is there any additional questions you would like to see? Any other information?
When are we out from underneath all the resolutions?
The board has not taken those actions.
I know the board, but what about the governor and different ones? Where are we at?
Well, I'm gonna be bringing 2 resolutions to the board for consideration as next Tuesday. Is the emergency resolution, the local emergency, which is lapsing by itself, absent any additional actions by the board by the end of the month. And the other resolution.
That's
that
the
will-
mandate stuff, right? Mandate stuff,
No,
vaccination.
No. That's
No.
the emergency
Okay,
declaration.
okay, the other one is based on that emergency declaration.
Yeah, and the other one, the other resolution that we'll bring is the required vaccination and testing for employees. That one does not have a sunset date. So, and then that will require an actual board action if you'd like to.
But
rescind it.
doesn't that one expire when the other one expires?
No, it doesn't.
It does not. Okay.
And it specifically said after further action by the board. So I already provided my recommendation on Tuesday. I will recommend for you to allow sunset the emergency declaration on their own. And I will also be recommended for the board to consider rescinding but that's the conversation you need to have on Tuesday.
But you don't know when the governor's thing is up.
No, and the only one that I know of that has lapsed is the OPMA. That's no longer a proclamation. And the governor has been asked as to for how long his emergency declaration would last, and he has not committed as to when.
I know we've got one of our local restaurants in town that's doing a lot of remodeling, getting everything fixed up to snuff. And they're just saying, we don't wanna go through this again, with another up and down, and so they're waiting to open until everything is completed.
Now, personally, I don't
Just
think,
safety.
I don't think there's gonna be enough energy at the state level. This is just my humble opinion to go back to additional restrictions. That's just my 2 cents.
Is the state, do we know if the state's gonna start hiring unvaccinated employees?
They are hiring. They have been hiring like crazy, stealing people from all over the place. and they have that requirement, show.
Still, that you'd be vaccinated,
Vaccination.
even though it doesn't prevent you from getting anything.
Yeah, okay, but,
Dr. Alderman went very carefully through all the data.
you know, and I think, I don't know if you, I think she made a very good presentation on Monday night, specifically related to vaccinations and the effectiveness of such.
Okay, it is 2:59. We will review this item on Tuesday. So we are,
But in the meantime, if you have any questions or you need any additional information, please let me or Robin know. So we're prepared for you to answer those questions on Tuesday.
perfect. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.